All right, so it's another Friday, and it's me, Ethan, here, and I'm here to go over some questions that were put forth in the Mineopoly group. And I'd like to introduce some people. We've got Sammy here, and I'm going to go ahead and move the camera here. We've got Sammy. Sammy is our new worker at the farm, so I'd like everybody to kind of give him a welcome. And he doesn't speak English. Well, he speaks English pretty good, but he's a little bit shy with his English. So bear with him if he's just kind of quiet through this AMA. But he's with us now, and he's doing a great job keeping the farms running and everything. And let me go back to answering what you were saying, Max. The intent of this project from inception was to sell the miners at the top of the bull run. So it wasn't to sell the miners early. It wasn't, but the thing is with crypto mining is you've always got to be flexible. You've always got to be dynamic. You can't be rigid. You will not make it in this business if you are too rigid. And so right now it's you'd only make 50%, which is not terrible at all. Considering the typical ROI, is 5+ years on a normal standard investment. And so you're not even 1 year in, and you're already at 50%. And again, this is heavily dependent on the price of Bitcoin itself. So, at a Bitcoin price of 61,500, which is kind of, well, it's at 61,800 now. But if we kind of take it up to the all-time high, which I think was 7,800 or 78,000, you can see that significantly changes your ROI. And so if we take it even further and we, look at the stock to flow says that by, this time next year, it will be at least 473,000, if not higher. And if we look traditionally, the bull runs always go, even in the last COVID bull run, it still went above the stock to flow prediction. So if we just take let's say a pessimistic, like a very pessimistic stock to flow, and let's say it does half of that, that would be what, 225,000. I'll just make it an even number. You'd then be looking at a significant ROI. And it's when Bitcoin reaches these prices, that's when it will be optimal to sell the machines. That's when they'll go from, an all-time low at $2 a terahash, to something more like, we'll say, $20 a terahash. And again, we'll just be very pessimistic. So what I'm expecting is within the next year to year and a half, we're going to be at these numbers. And that's what I would recommend would be the time to sell. Now, there is one other option that I've been kind of mulling around in my head. And that is, well, let's kind of understand the situation, right? So there are many generations of crypto miners, right? If we look at the S9, and there were miners before the S9, there was the S3 and, the S5 and the S7. We won't talk about those because those were such brief, small production numbers that they're kind of irrelevant to the situation now. If we look at the situation now, the first generation miners was the S9 series, right? And then it went to the S15 and then the S17 series and then the S19 series. So first generation is S9, second generation is S17, right? We'll say 2.5 generation, and then we go into the third generations, which are the S19K Pros, and then we go into the fourth generation, which is now the S21s. And if we look at the performance of the M50s, and although we bought them almost a year ago, and a year ago, they were the best that was available in the market. But what's happened is 2 more generations have been added in efficiency and in performance to the market since we bought in. So that means that our machines are literally 2 generations behind. Not a real big deal in the bull run, because in the bull run, the S9s will become profitable again and people will run them. We've seen this happen over and over again. But It is a big challenge right now before the bull run. And if we, we've got an option. We can just hold, right? We can just hold the machines, get them cleaned up, get them ready, get them ready for show day, which will be in approximately a year to a year and a half from now. Or we can liquidate them now and get next to nothing, if I can even sell them at all. Like, I'm seeing people struggling selling thousands and thousands of S19 miners, and try to go into the newest generation equipment. Now, the advantage that the newest generation equipment will give us is not only will it generate more profits during the bull run, and it's an optimal time to buy because prices are still low, but after the bull run, we won't have to dump the machines. We can continue to mine through the correction because they're going to be, so much more efficient than anything else that is out there. And that's what I'm seeing the big guys doing. So the big institutions, they're liquidating all of their S19 models. Now, keep in mind, they bought their S19 models 4 years ago, before the last bull run. So they were able to mine through that entire bull run and pretty much through the entire correction. So now those machines have paid for themselves multiple times over. So if they let them go for $2 a terahash, that's just icing on the cake to them. We're not in that situation. We have not gotten a full return on investment on these machines. So we're kind of in a quagmire of a situation of what is the smart strategy? Is the smart strategy just to hold on to them? I would say that's a safe strategy, right? If we're Bitcoin maximalists and our strategy is to maximize profit and longevity of operations, then I would say the way to go is to sell the machines we have, go ahead and skip the third generation, get into the fourth generation machines, the S21 Hydros, and continue operations with the idea that, we're not just going to liquidate in a year to a year and a half and then be done with Monopoly. We'll go ahead and mine through that. We'll mine through the correction and still be profitable, and then consider a liquidation before the next bull run, which is what the institutional miners are doing. That's their pattern. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can see the risk of liquidating early at such a low um, recoup of cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, for example, like Rebel 816 in the Discord, uh, he put a quick note saying that he really hopes to get the best price for the miners and sell. He's willing to wait. So I'm not quite sure how the community would respond. I see the benefits of both.
Well, like I said, I think the safe bet, or the more predictable, we can predict have an easier prediction of what the outcome will be, is to hold on to the machines, wait till the peak of the bull, go on to eBay, and when every little kid wants to blow $8,000 on a miner because they can't get one, or that's cheaper than the fourth generation gear, which is now $20,000-$40,000 a machine. Um, there's another way to play it too. Is we could get the fourth gen machines, and then we could liquidate them at the top of the bull. Um, I don't, but that's when we get into a lot of uncertainties, a lot of unknowns. I do know that in terms of like a fifth gen and a sixth generation machine coming around the corner, I don't think those. I do know of a fifth gen machine that's coming in the works that's going to be below 10 watts a terahash. I've heard the rumors, and it will come. But knowing Bitmain the way they are, they wouldn't release it right now, especially with the fourth generation machines being profitable right now. Um, but
Yeah,
I,
I guess what I would like to see is if we seriously consider bringing this to the community as a proposal to liquidate the machines miners early, get as much liquidity as we can, and then invest in the the the,
flip
the
it.
higher performing miners. Just like the math of like financially, how does it all work out? Like, what's the losses? What the potential gains are? um, to see the numbers. Like
Okay,
I'm
well, I
wondering
will
then
say
if we
this.
liquidated them, then there's no distribution of the sales because you're selling them at a loss. That's what I'm assuming, and then you're hoping to get enough from the sales to get a substantial set of miners to start mining. Is that what you're thinking of?
I mean, right now, hold on just a second here. Let me.
So I'm trying to track the what the if we took the riskier scenario,
Mhm.
believing that Bitcoin is going to not go away in the next
Oh, it's definitely not
3
going away.
or 4
That
years.
much I
Yeah,
know for
yeah.
sure.
So I'm just wondering, like, what happens then to? So I mean, I think the previous model was you sold, and then with the profits from the sales, you distribute them among the
Mhm.
NFT holders. But it sounds like there's going to be no profits on this. And then with the
Well,
money
I
that,
mean, you guys own the miners, right? So the
yeah,
community owns the miners, and uh, like in terms of profit, it's all relative, right?
mm,
So if your intention is to just cash out and walk away, then yes,
mm,
you're going to be at a loss. You're only going to get about 50%. So again,
okay,
I'll just run through the numbers right now. So let's go to
mm.
today's price, right? And right now it's at 61,700, so $61,700.
And I don't know if you're trying to share the screen, but we can't see the screen.
Oh,
If you're
you can't.
trying to
Oh,
share.
I'm not sharing it on the Google Meet, so let me share. Yeah, let me. And I'm just going to share this window with you. Hopefully, you can see it now. Can you see it?
Yes, definitely can see it. Thank
Okay,
you.
fantastic. And so, yeah, let's bring this to $2 a terahash, right? All right. So currently, and I believe the first NFTs were what, $420 US or 420 USDT.
To be honest, my memory's
All right.
failing me.
Okay.
I bought in at different
Okay. Different
tranches
tranches. Okay.
throughout. So yeah,
So
so I'm sure
let's
I'm
just
lost.
go worst case of the worst case. So let's say you bought in at 500, which was the max, right? So you've made roughly about 60, or not 60%, 40% return to date. And that's if we sell the miners, next week or whatever, Bitcoin price remains at 61,700 and everybody cashes out their Bitcoin and they just walk away. Which, as I was saying, in terms of traditional investments, it's not a bad position to be in. Obviously, whenever you make an investment, you want to get a full return on your investment plus earnings, correct? So I wouldn't recommend just walking away right now. What I would recommend is let's go to the next scenario where we wait until the top of the bull run to sell. Well, I first of all, whatever I recommend, take this with a grain of salt. I'm going to say this is the safe path. All right, so let's do a very pessimistic pricing. Stock to flow says it's going to be over 400K. Let's say it never even reaches there. Let's say it gets to half that. So we'll say 225,000. Right? And I think it's pretty safe bet that we could sell for $20 a terahash. Probably we could sell for much more, but it's really hard to see that far in the future and know where the market's going to be and know how much market demand is going to be. The demand always goes crazy because everybody and their mother, they want to buy a machine, they want to plug it in at home, and they think they're going to make oodles and oodles of money. None of them ever do, but we can use that to our advantage. In that case, right, in that worst possible case scenario where we never mine any more Bitcoin, and that's also assuming that we don't ever plug these in. Now, my primary goal, my primary objective right now is to try to get, new power situations going to where we can get these machines plugged back in and mining, even if they're making very little revenue. It's still better than nothing because every little bit that you make, a little satoshi now, when it goes up in the bull run and the price of Bitcoin goes up, that compounds in value. So that's still something that I'm working on. But let's just assume that we just freeze everything now. We wait a year and then we sell and we liquidate. what you'd be looking at is roughly a doubling. Again, we can't predict the price you're going to sell at or the price per terahash we sell at, but just at a very, very pessimistic view, a year from now, you're looking at doubling your initial investment. So 2 years, doubling your money, that's pretty good. That's not a bad situation at all. Now, if we look at, the full Bitcoin maximalist situation where it goes up
Yeah.
to 470K, which I believe it will do. It's, stock to flow has never failed in the past. And in that case, we would be looking at something more like $45 a terahash. Then you'd be looking at, 4x, roughly 4x of your investment, which is also fabulous in, 2 years to 4x any kind of investment. So that's what we'd be looking at. Going the safe route.
Right? Anywhere between 2x and 4x, depending on the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Got it.
A very, very pessimistic scenario, 2x. A good optimistic scenario. And again, that's if we stop now, forever. Like in the next year, we don't plug in. I'm not anticipating that. I'm not planning that. So what we need to propose to the community is a safe strategy, which the numbers are quantifiable, very predictable. And then I don't want to say it's not safe, but it's going to require more investment because obviously the fourth generation machines are more expensive per terahash than the second or the third generation machines. The advantage that it could give us, the potential, and again, like I said, this is, we're in the future. We're having to predict, things. The advantage that it's going to give us is it's going to be able to allow us to mine much, much longer and be profitable, basically until the next halvening. So these machines should be profitable and should return on their investment several times over the next 3 years to make it so even if we sell at an inopportune time, we've already made the return on investment many times over. So it really doesn't matter, what price they sell for. It's just icing on the cake.
Got it.
And let me go to the Bitmain website and get an idea of price per terahash.
That's what I was asking. Thank you.
All right, so let's look at the newest generation. The S21 Hydros. Yeah, I mean, they're at 16 joules a terahash, but I've heard people getting them down to like around 12 joules a terahash. Joules are basically watts. Come on, don't give me a subscribe. Yeah, I'll see. They're saying that they're sold out on their website. Okay, let me go to my other sources because there's always a way to buy stuff. They're never completely sold out. Let me go, and usually I can get it for less than Bitmain Direct from my vendors anyway. So let me go to one of my vendors' website. Here we go. Let's pull up their price sheet. S21s. Okay, these are the air cooled. Let's go to. Do they have a hydro price sheet? Because the hydros are priced differently than the air cooled. And they have an S21 Pro now. Okay, this vendor. Let me go to another vendor. Let me go to. I've got like a million different groups that I'm a part of too. Here we go. This guy will have pricing. He always has pricing. Okay. S21 Hydro 473T. That's massive. 6410 divided by 473 G. Yeah, I can probably get them for about $20 a terahash now. So
and you could sell the current miners at $20.
I can sell the
No,
current
at
ones at
$2.
$2 a terahash.
$2. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
That's a big
Um,
gap, right? So
yeah,
that
yeah.
means we would have to make up the difference. Well, you've also got to consider too that the infrastructure for hydro is completely different.
Mm,
So you don't. It's not just the miners. You now need tubing, and you need hydro channels. You need a pump. You
mm,
need a cooling, chilling unit on the outside. So that also adds to the expense as well. But yeah, we can get the fourth generation, I would say for around $20 a terahash. Probably add another $5 a terahash for the remaining infrastructure, the cooling
mm,
cabinets and all that stuff. So $25 a terahash, I think, would be reasonable all in.
mm,
But the thing is we wouldn't need, at 473 terahash, if we look at Monopoly, I think Monopoly was doing like maybe 92 terahash, like on a good day, 9200. So we divide that by 473. That's only 20 machines. So we would only need one cabinet and maybe even a small pump and a small chiller. Like it
mm, mm.
wouldn't be a big infrastructure buy. But yeah, so 20 machines. And these machines, from what I'm told, they're like the S19K Pros. Like you can overclock the crap out of them
Mm.
and they just take it like it's no problem. I mean, I overclocked the S19K Pros for Cobra X, and those things are running like champs. I mean, they're just rock solid all day long, right, Sammy? Sammy was dozed off. Sammy was like, "Yeah, look, he's so busy with those things, he's falling asleep right now."
Mhm.
But that's what good mining is. Good mining should be about as exciting as watching
Mm,
paint dry, right? If you're always having to
mm,
run around and fix things and do
mm,
diagnostics, then you're not running a good farm. I met a guy, he lives actually here in my local neighborhood, and he's got about 8 megawatts of farms that he's running. And he keeps asking me these questions. He's like, "Well, what do you do when the machines break? What do you do when they break?" And I said, "Well, I take them to the manufacturer and get the warranty repair." And he's like, "Well, what if you don't have any warranty?" And I was like, "Well, then you got a lot of trouble." I mean, the only thing that breaks on the new machines, well, first of all, just like any electronic thing, right? When you buy a TV, a toaster, a microwave, anything, if it makes it past the first 60 days, then you know you're going to get a good 2, 3 years worth of life out of it. Usually, these things, if they fail very quickly. Electronic devices will fail within the first, 30 to 60 days. And that's exactly what happened with Roop's project. I think we had over 6 machines drop out on us right away. And it was just either the power supply was bad on them or the hash boards were bad on them. But, like I said,
How would how would this affect Cobra X? Like, are you gonna be able to do the same site? Or are you gonna look for another site if we
well,
were to do
let's keep in
the
mind here.
Maximus
I
approach?
I think everybody keeps forgetting that I've already paid for a piece of land. I paid the rent for a full year. I've already paid a contractor, an engineering company to do the power upgrade to that land, right? And all that stuff has been in the works. Like I'm still checking in every week. Or every other week, with the contractor, like when's this going to get done? Now, where the hang up on everything is, it's not with the utility company. It's with the municipality itself. So, like, the best way to describe it is like when you have traditional construction, you need to get a building permit from the city. And what's happening is the city is not letting it go through. The city has frozen all of the power upgrades. And the reason why they've done that is because the Abu Dhabi Department of Agriculture, which is kind of like the local homeowners association, says we don't want this activity happening on land anymore. And so now they're like being extra cautious. But the thing is there are legit needs for power on these agricultural plots of land. Like if you're going to do any kind of food processing, or if you're going to do any kind of water processing, you're going to need legit amounts of power. We're not asking for a lot of power. We're only asking for about 200 kVA. And so, eventually you can pause all this stuff or you can hold it up, but eventually the paperwork's going to build up and it's going to burst the dam and they're going to have to, just let things through. So I think what they're doing right now is they're just kind of looking for a set of qualifications or a list of rules or something that they need to apply to each application to decide whether to pass it or, to block it. And it's just a matter of time before they get all that done. Now, the good news is the landowner and I have become good friends. We go out to dinner frequently. We're, doing other business ventures together. So when it comes time to renew this lease, I'm going to beg him as a friend and say, look, I didn't get any power to your land. I didn't get to earn anything from your land. Can you just give me another year of grace now that there's power on this land? And I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic that he'll be a nice guy and he'll say, okay, you just got power a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago or whatever. I'll give you some grace for that. Or he'll give me a discount or whatever. But, we can't forget that is going on and that has been ongoing since January of this year. So eventually the dam will break and that will come through. So that's one source of power. Another thing that I'm doing here is, Abu Dhabi is just under scrutiny. It is being looked at with a magnifying glass. There are agricultural plots of land that are in other Emirates, like Sharjah, Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah. I'm starting to learn how to say all the names of the Emirates now. You can tell I've been in the UAE too long. But they also get a subsidized power rate. Now, it's not quite as good as Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is about 1.3 cents all in, and these other agricultural plots are 2 cents. But it's close. It's enough of a marginal difference to where it's still very profitable to mine. And what my strategy has been is to stop looking in Abu Dhabi. Just it will sort itself out eventually. But right now, it's a hot mess. I'm going to other Emirates like Sharjah, and as far as I know, nobody else is doing this, which is really great, because they're not under scrutiny. They're not, denying power upgrades and things like that. And I'm going to these other Emirates, and I'm looking for power solutions there. Beyond that, I have mentioned to you guys that I am trying to get solar going here. The biggest block or roadblock that I have in solar right now, it's not the solar panels themselves. It's not the rest of the infrastructure. It is the battery energy storage systems. And I looked at several different solutions. I looked at using heat as a form of storage, and I came all the way around full circle. And the best way to store is just to store the electrons directly, which leads me to the traditional battery technologies, which are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper every day, but their price is still prohibitive because our nexus to actually make the return on investment comes to about 15 to 20 years, which is a little bit too much. Ideally, we want that nexus to be below 5 years. If I can get that price nexus where all the infrastructure and all the batteries and everything will pay for themselves within 5 years, I think it's very easy for me to get financial backers and to get those projects off the ground. Now, I have found a battery technology that is 10% of the current market price of the standard batteries that are used, the lithium ion technology batteries. And it's an iron air technology. I've reached out to that company several times. I've had several powerful people at an institutional level that are contacts and friends of mine try to reach out to them, and none of us are getting any response. So what is my next option? My next option is to get on a freaking plane and go to Georgia, go to the factory, bring my sleeping bag and my business suit, and sleep on their front porch until somebody will give me the time of day to talk to me and let me pitch them about, hey, I want to buy 10 of your systems. I want to do a prototype over in the UAE. I want to showcase your technology and your solution, and I want to promote it and become a distributor for you, and give them the reason why you need to be focusing on the UAE markets is because they have sunlight more than any other. If you look at all the areas around the equator, right, that have the ideal amount of sunshine to do solar projects, they're in countries that are not, how can I say, favorable for North American business. But the UAE is one of the few countries that are in, this Goldilocks zone of where the sun shines almost all around the year. that we have very little bad weather. And when the weather's bad here, it's bad, but it's still very infrequent. And it is an optimal and ideal place where there's liquid capital and green initiatives. And that's another thing too I want to tell you guys about is I'm canceling my Dubai license. So my Dubai business company, hopefully before the end of this year, it will be done. I've gone ahead and I've opened up a new business in a new Emirates, Sharjah. That's where my warehouse is, and I also have a mainland company license instead of a free zone company license. The difference between the two is the free zone is like being in a jail, right? And it's a gimmick, right? They come to Dubai. You can get your company. We can make it in 3 days. You can sponsor your visa. Da 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 da. Well, what you come to find out is basically a free zone company is like being in jail here, and you can't really do any real business. I'll give you a good example. I can't do government contracts with a free zone company. I can only do business to business, right? And technically, I guess I can lease lands, these farmlands, with these local citizens. That's okay. But if I ever wanted to do a business project with them directly, I couldn't do it through my free zone company. That's not allowed. I'm not allowed to do, business to private citizens. I'm only allowed to do business to business. So that means they would have to create a company and then their company could do business with that company. That's not how things are done over here. So by having a mainland company, that means now I'm ingrained in the system. I can get government contracts and I can do business directly with locals. I don't have to find some way to circumvent that. And so it's a new situation. Previously, foreigners were not allowed to have a mainland company. Only locals could register it. But recently, just last year, they changed the rules, and I'm now allowed to have my own private LLC. And so I created my own private LLC mainland company and just got my license 3 days ago. And I'm going to be sponsoring Sammy's visa. I'm going to be sponsoring Ahmed's visa, and I'm going to be sponsoring Tammy's visa. Tammy is going to be our new customer liaison. She's coming over to Dubai. So I'm investing very heavily in this speculation that this is going to bear fruits and this is going to become a very profitable enterprise. But that's me. I have a much higher risk tolerance than a lot of you guys have. So yeah, Tammy is very great. Tammy loves to
Yeah, I think
talk.
great on Discord, so I appreciate her. So let's say we think about the maximalist scenario and
Hmm.
the communities behind it. I'm just roughly like would it take 3 months to start things going? How what do you or 6 months? I'm just wondering how long do you think such a I don't know conversion,
You're
getting
talking
out?
about flipping the current machines that we have into the fourth
Yeah,
generation technology. How fast could we get
yeah,
up and running? Uh,
yeah.
I'm looking for power every day, man. I mean,
Mm,
from the time I wake up, if you look at my calendar, from the time I wake up to the
mm,
time I go to sleep, it's filled with two things. One has been cleared off of it, and that was to get my mainland license and get this new company established. But the second thing on there was find power, find power, find power. And what's prohibiting me, or I don't want to say prohibiting, but I guess what's challenging me in that is that, well, it's a plus and a minus. So basically, all these Emirates that I'm looking at for power, they only speak Arabic. There aren't very many foreigners there. So that's the good side is that it's basically an untapped market that, if I come there and I say, hey, I need to use your power and I'm going to do crypto mining, it's not like Abu Dhabi where all the landowners are like, no way, you can't do this. I'm not getting fines. The agricultural department said that you can't do this. I'm not going to let it happen. They're going to be more welcoming. But there is a barrier. There's a language barrier there. I don't know how to speak Arabic. That's why Ahmed and Sammy are with me. Ahmed can speak. He's from Pakistan. He can speak Arabic very well. He can speak Urdu very well. Sammy is from Pakistan and he speaks Urdu very well. His English is also much better than my previous worker. And his computer skills are much more sophisticated than my previous worker. So, in tandem with Ahmed, we are searching every single day, 24/7, for power opportunities in other Emirates. But when will
I
that
asked
break through?
because
Yeah, I don't know.
okay, yeah. I mean, I'm a maximalist, but I don't know how the rest of the community feels about. I think some people might really want to play it safe too, but
Mhm.
I would love to see a proposal and just see what it would look like.
Here's what I would
If
suggest.
we were to, yeah,
Here's what I would suggest to everybody in the community, right? Let me find the power, right? Let me find the power first in Sharjah or in Ras Al Khaimah or whatever emirate has the farmlands that we can find the extra power. Finding an extra 250 kVA should not be difficult. When I find the power and we have, real power that we can take action on, because that's been our biggest hangup, right? Is with the Cobra X site, uh, it's been almost, well, I don't want to say a year, but it's been what, 10 months? 10 months we've been trying to get power to the piece of land, right? So without power, we really can't do anything. We have no capability to mine. So let me find power. If I find power, let's consider this proposal. I'm looking for power every single day. It's only a matter of time until I do find it. What I'm looking for is not, gigawatts and gigawatts of power. I'm looking for, 500 kVA here, 250 kVA there. I'm going to, spot build these farms, especially with the hydro technology, because the hydro technology is much, much, less hands-on than the air-cooled technology. Like right now, Sammy, can you look behind you and tell me what the humidity reads on the sensor? Sammy, behind you, there's a sensor for the humidity, how much moisture is in the air. Can you tell me what that says? You have to turn around and look at it. It's behind you. The humidity sensor behind you. Do you see the little white box behind you, Sammy? Maybe he can't hear me too well. Um, yeah. What is the humidity? Let me type it to him. Sometimes he can read.
but finding the power sounds great. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
And I would, and when you do find it, I would love to see a proposal. And of course, the community will have their opinion, and I'll chime in why I would like to move forward with it.
Okay.
But I would love to hear what other people also have to say. I think some people might want to play it safe, but I do feel like there's also a fair number of us that are itching to. I think one Discord member, I forgot his tag
Mm-hmm.
Discord ID, but he said let's pull the band-aid off and just go for it. So yeah,
Well, here's what I would also recommend. Is I would also recommend that we open up the Mineopoly project to the general public, right? So you guys will pay in at rate X, and then maybe we can offset the cost differential by the new guys paying more. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Right?
I think there are people that would be interested in coming in for
So
sure.
that's what I would propose is that, the OGs, you guys, you pay in $10 per terahash, right? And the new guys, their price is so much higher. Okay, it's at 70. Okay, he's saying that the humidity is at 70 right now. All right, what is the temperature, Sammy? Can you tell me what the temperature is? 37? 27? Okay, 30.4. Okay, 30.4 and 70 degrees humidity. Humidity is a bit high, but it's acceptable. It's good. But that would be my suggestion is that the new people that come out, and in the bull run, it gets nuts. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't generate millions of dollars when the bull run starts. But it would be something that I would really need. I'd have to lean on you guys really heavily to do the heavy lifting because I am just split way too many ways, and I need to be hyper focused on the things that I need to be hyper focused, and that is solar and acquiring power here, right? Because every time I get into another project or I do this or I do that, that's taking away time from getting the essentials, the foundational things that are needed to make these things happen. So that would be a situation where I would probably talk to Roop, or you guys in general, and and say, who wants to be, in charge of this, who wants to be in charge of that, and then we'll work something out where we give you a couple of NFTs or whatever for your trouble. I think that's what all the other projects were doing, but I think this project was the only one that realistically had a plan to actually pay it back. The others were just kind of pie in the sky. Um, but that's how it would have to roll because I just don't have the capacity to do more than what I'm doing now. And you got to keep in mind, Sakib left about 6 months ago, and I've been burning the candle at both ends
Mhm.
all of those 6 months, and it's taken its toll on me. Although I have been exercising and working out a lot, so I'm kind of getting some guns now. Um, but that's what you got to do, right? The tough got to get tougher, or you can just lay over and die. And I'm definitely not a person that's going to lay over and die. I'm a person that buckles down when shit gets hard. I get harder. Um, so
I
yeah,
appreciate your work. Thanks so much for fighting for the community and the project. Really appreciate it, Ethan.
yeah. So
Wondering if in the remaining time, you could give us a status update. How are the Cobra X miners going, and what and then process of possibly when like the monthly payouts and how that might be worked
I've already
out.
sent the BTC to Roop, so
Okay, okay,
that's something you guys got to work out.
okay, all right.
Now,
Yeah, he's asked for the BTC addresses from the
okay,
Discord, so
yeah,
I guess it's so he has to just basically organize everything. Okay, I got it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
did it was it a productive month? How did it look?
Honestly, we had to shut down a couple of times because the humidity. We're in that season where we can get these really really humid nights, and if the humidity gets too high, man, we just got to shut off. That's why I was asking Sammy right now, like what the humidity was. I've got computer systems and monitoring systems. Okay, Sammy, we'll get you some earbuds, Sammy, so you can hear next time. Right, we'll get you some earbuds so you'll be able to hear next time. Um, but all things considered, I think you guys did well. It was way beyond expectation. You guys at stock hash rate, you're supposed to do about 7,400 terahash, something around that. And let me just pull up your account real quick here. Um, if you guys look at your averages, you guys are averaging, yeah, 8,800. I mean, you're doing more than 1,000 terahash than what you should have been doing stock. And that's 88, 88, 88, 86, 87, 88, 88. I mean, just rock solid strong hashing. And like I said, that's 1,000 more than what you guys were promised, and that gets divvied up between you guys in the project. Now, some things to consider: Roop had a little bit of sticker shock with the first bill because we had to use municipality water for the site. I tried for over a year when Monopoly was running there to use the bore well water, the water from the land, and it was way too salty. And it was fine during the winter months because we barely needed any water. We didn't really need any water because the temperatures were cool enough. But when that late spring started creeping in, I replaced the cooling curtains, and within a week, they were completely clogged up. And I was like, this is really bad. So then I went to a water filtration company. I said, yeah, I need a big processing system. I bought this really expensive, like $15,000 water desalination plant system. It completely was inadequate. It did not produce enough water per day to keep things running. So then I tried to do like, well, you know, 50% fresh water and 50% bad water is better than 100% bad water. And I fought with that all summer. And then horrible humidity kicked in. I had to shut down Monopoly because I wasn't able to get anything to cool. You guys remember this. I let you guys all know this. We had to shut down for like a week or so. And then, I went through this process of, like trying to change the cooling curtains again. And, each time I change those cooling curtains, that's 3,000, 4,000 bucks, just that I got to drop.
Mm.
And so, budgetary things, money was running tight, and I was talking to the landowner. I was like, "Do you have any suggestions?" And he's like, "Why don't you use municipality?" I was like, "The land doesn't have municipality water, does it?" He's like, "No, sure, I got it hooked up right there." And he points to me, like right in the corner of the land. He's got like a spigot from the municipality. He's got pipes like all around. So I was like, okay, let me get all this hooked up. And, I paid for a crew to come in and remove the desalination plant and hook all that stuff up. And thank goodness, we're able to use the water tanks that were for the desalination plant. We can use those as like a redundant storage. So what happens is the municipality goes in, fills up these tanks, which hold, like 1,000 gallons. And then if for whatever reason, the municipality were, to shut down or to fail, which that shit happens in the UAE. You guys know that, the power sometimes goes off for a day or two. The water might be shut off for a day or two. We've got those tanks in reserve that we can keep still running. So at least I was able to utilize that. But, when I gave Roop the bill, it had the electricity and the water. And the way I get the bill is I just put in, the utility account number in my banking app, and it, asks the utility company how much is owed for this account, and it just tells me a number. So from there, I have to kind of extrapolate, how much of this was for electricity and how much of this is for water. And Roop's a bit upset with how much the water costs. So I've contacted the landowner, who's a really nice guy, and asked him to see if he can get me a hard copy of the bill. And he told me he doesn't even know how to do that. Like, because all these landowners, they're kind of like me where they have to delegate everything. They own so many pieces of land and have so many things going on that they delegate things to management companies and they handle everything for them. So I'm doing my best to get that into Rope. I've gone ahead and, you know, paid for everything that was earned in this earning period. And you got to keep in mind that, it was the beginning of, well, the last week of August. So there was a whole additional week of mining added to it. So the numbers are a little bit wonky. It's not typical. You also got to understand September was a very hot month. We used a lot of water. Um, so I expect for October, November, December, by December, we won't use any water. So there'll be, little to nothing to pay in terms of a water bill. But it was a bit of a shock, and as a favor for Roop, at least until we can work out, what the water cost is, I've gone ahead and paid everything, but I, subtracted out what was on my invoice for the water cost until we can work that out. And maybe we'll just have to maybe split it up or something like that, or maybe we can make it somewhat predictable to where you can just pay a nominal fee throughout the year. Maybe that'll be easier for him to digest. I don't know. He was pretty tore up about it. For me, just knowing how mining farms operate, and especially with how much I've had to spend just to keep things operational for Mineopoly. I don't care if I've got a $1,000 water bill for June, July, and August. Like I'll pay that. That $3,000 is cheaper than it costs me to change the cooling curtains 3-4 times a season. You know, that's
Got it.
reducing
So,
my expense by a factor of 75%. I'm only paying for basically one cooling curtain change for the months of, we'll just say, June, July, August, September. So let's just say if I spend $4,000, that's better than me spending $3,000 four times.
so it sounds like whatever the payout is, it's not really indicative of what's going to happen the following month.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's just we have an unusual situation where the water bill is higher. We had some off and on time with the miners, and then an extra week in August. That doesn't sound to me like whatever the numbers are, it's going to be like the norm. So,
I wouldn't
um,
use this as a
yeah,
baseline. I would not use
got
this
it.
as a baseline. Um, what I can say is, well, and again, it's all relative to the price of Bitcoin, right? So if Bitcoin, let's say, goes up to 80K, then your earnings were even higher. But if memory serves correctly, it was around. Well, here I can actually look at the nice hash and look at the wallet payout. Um, let's go to the wallets, and Yeah, so 8,315 worth of Bitcoin at the time of sending,
Got it.
which
Minus and then
that is
whatever the
minus my
percentage is.
expense. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
minus my
Got it.
invoice.
Okay.
So I don't think that's bad at all.
Yeah. I'm actually always looking at the amount of Bitcoin, never at the dollar assignment because that's just going to fluctuate over
Well,
time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it was 1.3 Bitcoin is what it came to,
Okay.
which is not bad at all, especially because we did have to shut down for a few days in the month, and we were shutting down. Uh, Nice hash has gotten really funky. Let me see if I can show this to you. But we were shutting down in critical moments when the nice hash payouts were rising. Let me remove all this junk. Let's see here. I think I can show it better with this chart. Let's go to the 1 month. Right? So if you look at some of these payouts, I mean, like 0.012 Bitcoin was paid out in this day. And thank goodness we were running strong all through this elevated payout. But in the days that we had to shut down, I think there was also an elevated payout, and we might have missed that little jump. But if we look at the nominal payout was about 0.006 per day, and it jumped all the way up to 0.012, like literally double. And if we look at kind of the median here, 0.007, 0.007, so we the earnings that nice hash here's 0.065, and then it's settled back down to 0.061, 0.062, but the earnings on average with nice hash were much higher than if we went to, let's say, ant pool or a different pool. Like the nominal payouts now are like, probably for the amount of terahash that you guys are running, would be probably like 0.05 or something like that. So nice hash consistently paid better. And all things considered, I think it was a phenomenal start. But by no means, it's not your measuring stick to gauge what next month is going to be like.
So would it be modestly optimistic to think that the following month will be better in terms of payout,
Well,
less water cost possibly, and then maybe consistent mining without interruption
so
with less.
let's look at the nominal payout. Let's say that the nominal payout is 0.006, and we'll just make it a whole number. 0.006 times 30 days. So that would mean that you would generate, or what would be generated is 0.18 Bitcoin in a 30-day cycle. Now we have to subtract the costs of electricity out of that, and that's an unknown factor because that's paid for in Bitcoin and it's dependent on the price of Bitcoin, what the market price is. But let's say that, just for easy math, it's like 0.05. So minus 0.05. So yeah, I would look at 0.13 Bitcoin per month as a reliable baseline. If you do anything above that, that means you performed better in the project, and that would be either due to Bitcoin's price being higher, or your earnings being higher than average.
Okay,
But
thanks.
yeah,
It,
for this that site,
approximation is all I was kind of looking for. So thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. So for that site and for the hash, like if we go back, let's look right now. Let's see if we're
And we are on the other side of the halving, so I'm quite aware that
yeah.
in
The halving
Monopoly
is a
started, we
killer.
were on before the halving, and then
Oh,
now we're on
we
the
were
other
making
side of it.
bank. We were making. There were some days where we made $1,500 in one day before the halving, especially when those ordinals came in and the fees like went through the roof, and we were getting all that fee money. I was like, man, I hope this keeps up. I thought we were at the beginning of the bull too. I was like, man, the bull's gonna come early. I was like, this is just what we needed. But invariably, this has been a really nasty post-halvening. By now, we should actually be into the next bull. That's why I keep looking at this chart. But this has been the longest low price action post-halvening that we've ever had. This is setting a record right now. Which is, I always try to look at the silver lining to everything. So the silver lining to this is massive amounts of miners are having to unplug. Massive amounts of miners unplug. The difficulty, let's take a look at the difficulty, actually. But see, that's the thing that's different this time is in the last halvening, there was a shortage. There was actually a chip shortage because of COVID and everything like that. And so there weren't new generation miners to replace the old generation. So people were, having to find inventive ways. They were underclocking S9s to, get them like around 30 watts of terahash and things like that to keep going. But this time it's a survivable event because there's plenty of inventory of 4th generation that's much more efficient. But let's see, BTC difficulty. Look at the coin wars chart. Let's see. We should be able to see a significant, this chart blows. Okay. Yeah, see, this is an anomaly. We should see a huge cliff fall off like we did, in the previous bull runs. We got a little bit of it, a drop from May over the summer, but now it's going to all-time highs. And it's because exactly what I said. There's a supply of new generation miners that makes this a survivable event. And the people that are able to get into those new generation miners, this is the optimal time because the price per terahash is very reasonable. And you're going to have these machines be able to go through the whole bull cycle and through the correction, which you'll maximize their potential. And unfortunately, even though we got the best machines we could at the time on the market, these machines are going to be very difficult to maximize the life out of them. And that's why I think the best idea is to shelf them. Safest idea, because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what's best. You guys decide what's best. You're the community. I'll decide what's best after another year when I have power to do so. But the safest thing to do would be to shelf them, wait till the bull goes nuts, and then eBay them for top dollar. I mean, even if you eBay them now, let's just take a look real quick. I don't know why all these, here we go. What's miner M50? What are people selling them on eBay? Search. I don't see any M50s, but it looks like somebody's got some M30s on here. So that's just the control board. That's the chassis. The whole miner they're selling for $1,100. Let's see. Let's do 1,107 retail divided by 84T. They're selling for $13 a terahash. I mean, there's no way I can sell them like that through my channels. But right now, completely unprofitable. A used M30 is going for $13 a T. We could probably get higher than that because our machines are more efficient than the M30s. They're a newer generation. But yeah, I mean, that'll just give you an idea.
I definitely wait for
when the bull
peak
hits.
Of the bull run.
These machines are going to be selling for like $6-7 grand easily.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So the only reason why I would sell early is to basically do the conversion to the latest model.
If we eBayed them right, Max, even right now, let me just go in this hash calculator. Let's just be real pessimistic and say we get $15 a terahash. And we're at what, 62, 23. I mean, that puts 384 of earnings so far, which that's not too bad. That's like 80%. Getting your money back. That's my biggest concern is, I just want you guys to be in the optimal position where even if you're taking your money and you're flipping it back in, you're getting that maximum yield, right?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, yeah. So
Okay.
we've gone actually right to the bell today,
Thanks, Ethan.
and
Very helpful AMA. Really appreciate it.
sure, it's my pleasure, and I'm surprised we didn't really have anybody else join. But um, your crypto antiquity, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, if you could put together, just the proposal, and like I said, what I'm thinking is there's two strategies: the hodl, where we just hold on to the machines for dear life until the price of Bitcoin goes nuts and everybody goes nuts to buy them, and then we retail them on eBay. That's the safe strategy. And then there's the flipping strategy where I'm working passionately every day to find power. When I find that power, we put a proposal together to reinvigorate the Monopoly project, or maybe have Cobra X do another round or something like that, where you guys manage everything. We get new blood in, new money in, minimize any additional expense that you guys would have, and flip into a fourth generation project, and then mine through the full bull and through the correction. If you could,
I'd be very happy to like give bullet points and summarize today's AMA and then refer people to listen to you directly.
oh,
Not so
absolutely.
confident that I got all the details and the technical points. So, I definitely say that this is possibly on the horizon and to look out for it as a community.
Yeah, yeah. If you could just give that summary, and we'll see what everybody else's feedback. Let them watch the AMA,
Yeah.
and see what their temperature is. And if there's enough people talking about it, enough buzz, I'll put the proposal together.
Yeah. And please look over the summary in case I get something wrong. I'll
The
try to be as accurate at it as I can.
the what?
Oh, please look over the summary when I post it, just in
Oh
case
yeah,
I missed something.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. If I
yeah.
if I
Or
find
you need to make
anything,
a corrective. I'm gonna do the best I can on it.
all right. Well then, with that, I will say that concludes our AMA. I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday and a great weekend, and we'll see you next month.